Hello everyone. This is a copy of a video cassette tape of the Holy Snakes of the Virgin Mary that I purchased back in 2002, I think, or 2003. I was in New Zealand at the time, from memory. It's a recording of the phenomena of the snakes going to church in KEFALONIA on August 15th. By an American company. I think the recording was done in 1999. On my YouTube, you'll find an older um, Greek travel video done in the 70s from the looks of the fashions and the quality of the filming. And this is a more updated version. Unfortunately, there's some security features on this video, and each time I've tried to upload it to YouTube, I'd get a strike, or it'll say that there's copyrighted material. So what I have had to do is record it and dub over my own commentary, basically listening to the commentary and trying to speak the commentary, which you might find a bit annoying. And so in the description, you'll see a link to the actual video that goes to a Google Drive video download. I've also edited some of the content in the video because they do go on about things. There's a veterinarian who talks about snakes. There's a theologian who talks about nuns and convents and miracles. And so I've shortened the video from 43 minutes down to 30 something minutes from memory. Anyway, so if you prefer to see the video in its entirety, go into the description. Okay, enjoy. An International Vision production. Credits regarding this video: that everything has been depicted accurately. There was no recreations. No recreations were staged during the filming of this program. A production of International Vision. Executive producer Paul Addis. The Holy Snakes of the Virgin Mary. Hello, I'm Terry Casey for International Vision. Today we will visit Mersin, Greece, and an island that is a place of a celebrated saint and some other phenomenon, and these are considered miracles. This is the island of KEFALONIA. The saint that is celebrated is Saint Gerasimos. Was a monk. He lived on Mount Athos, and he lived during the 16th century. He was on Mount Athos, and then he settled in KEFALONIA. He founded a monastery, and there are multiple miracles attributed to him. He had the clairvoyance and prophecy. These miracles continue to modern days. In turn, the faithful show up and show their reverence during his festival. This is part of the joyful procession of Saint Gerasimos, where the relics of Saint Gerasimos are paraded through the town.
Των Αγίων Εδόξων και Πανευθύμων Αποστόλων, των Αγίων Εδόξων Μεγάλων Ιεραρχών, των Αγίων Εδόξων και Καλλινίκων Μαρτύρων, των Οσίων και Θεοφόρων Πατέρων και Μητέρων ημών, του Οσίου Πατρός ημών Γερασίμου του Νέου Ασκητού και Θαυματού. So the relics of Saint Gerasimos are showing, and the bishop is giving the benediction. Και ελεήμων Θεός, διευχών των Αγίων Πατέρων ημών, Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός, ελέησον και σώσον ημάς.
του Αγίου Δεσπότριμος, Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός.
Σήμερα είναι μια μεγάλη μέρα.
Now the Defence Minister is speaking. This is a big day, a great day for the island of KEFALONIA and its people. I'm here to celebrate the feast day of Saint Gerasimos. And he wishes everyone the blessings of this day. To all the Greeks. The island of KEFALONIA is on the west side of Greece, in the southeast part of the Mediterranean Sea, ruled by a succession of foreign powers as from the time of its fall from the Romans until its annexation in Greece in 1864. KEFALONIA is the largest of the islands in the Ionian. It has an irregular coastline. The main town are Argostoli, Lixouri. The island's population is about 30,000, mainly fishing, agriculture, and tourism. Besides the obvious, sunshine and beaches and tourist attractions, KEFALONIA has another important attraction: its people. They embrace its life in its fullest, including repairing of fish nets, obviously. So it's a very picturesque island. Our story begins around a religious holiday on the other side of the island. We come to a site which is a very strange phenomenon, which the locals call a miracle. We've come to Markopolo. It's about 18 k's from the mainland, from the main city. We're at the Church of the Virgin Mary, visited by thousands every year. Visited on August 15th on her feast day. We have come to pray at the Virgin Mary's Church. We also want to see the snakes. They're famously seen around here. I know they come out on the 6th of August, on the day of Transfiguration, and then they disappear on August 15th. They're harmless. We can handle them. They don't attack anyone. For many of us, their appearance is a miracle. After the big earthquake, the old church was destroyed and only the steeple remained. That steeple is where the snakes come from. Every year on the 6th of August. Sometimes 10 snakes, sometimes fewer. If for whatever reason, if the snakes don't show up, something bad happens to the island. After all, our religion is full of miracles like this one. And you know what? If you believe in something and have faith, things will happen. If you have faith, everything falls into place. The snakes aren't big, about 2 feet long. You can see on their forehead a little cross, and on their tongues. It's a story that's been passed on from generation to generation. It's a big story. That's why you get Christian faithful from all over Greece coming to visit the site to see the snakes. I believe it's a miracle, and I'm very happy that I live here and I witness this event every year. Yes, a miracle. Why would visitors from all over Greece and abroad come to this small village and see this small, insignificant church? Is it the site of a miracle that many devout believers believe? To answer this question, we need to go back in history to almost 6 centuries ago. Our story begins in the year 1400. Where the church stands today was the site of a convent dedicated to the Virgin Mary. The Orthodox Christian nuns that prayed and lived there lived in peace until the pirates were spotted from the convent tower heading towards them. Their destination and their pirate colours were made a beeline to the monastery. The monastery had plenty of food, had women obviously, and artifacts and treasures that had been donated by the local faithful. The first attack was swift. The pirates raped and pillaged and plundered the convent. Word of their attack was conveyed from port to port and from pirate to pirate. 40 years later, in 1650, the convent and its nuns fell again a prey to the pirates. After the second attack, the convent was abandoned and remained silent for many years. It was subsequently reopened and dedicated to the Virgin Mary and used as a convent. The only artifact that survived the second attack, the pirates, was a silver gilded icon of the Panagia holding the child Christ. The silver icon of the Virgin Mary is the same icon that played an important role during a third attack on the convent in the year 1705. This time, however, the pirates' mission was not successful. According to legend, when the pirate ship appeared on the horizon, the nuns rushed to the church and began praying fervently to the Mother of God for protection against the evil that it's on its way. The pirates put down anchor in Catilios, and they ran up towards the convent expecting to find frightened nuns. And what instead they saw was astonishing to them. The convent was filled with snakes, hissing and slithering and agitated. The pirates noticed that the snakes had tiny white crosses on their heads and on their tongues. The crosses looked exactly like those on the habits worn by Orthodox Christian nuns. As legend has it, the Virgin Mary had heard the prayers of the nuns and protected them by converting them or turned them into snakes. The pirates were afraid to go into the convent because of the snakes, and abandoned their plans to loot, and instead just set the building alight and left, never to attack the convent again. The flames of the fire consumed half the village, and the whole convent was destroyed. The only item to be recovered from the ashes was the silver gilded icon of the Virgin Mary, which was miraculously left intact. The villagers saw this as a symbol of God's will, a miracle, and they built another church in the honor of the Virgin Mary. And it was built in 1710 on the same site of the old convent. We have a tradition. There was a convent of nuns that was attacked by pirates who came to rape and plunder. After the third attack, the nuns were transformed into snakes. The same tradition holds that the snakes will eventually be turned back into humans. The appearance of the snakes is a miracle. We've looked around for snakes before the August the 6th, and we can't find these snakes. And after August 15th, we can't find the snakes. We only find them between 6th and 15th of August. You can find all different types of snakes, but not these snakes. These snakes are tame and only appear in this time frame. These snakes have the sign of the cross on their head, This is a natural phenomenon connected to the religion, because on a regular date every year, always the snakes appear at the same location from the steeple of the old church. It's a certain type of snake. These snakes don't frighten humans and are not scared of humans. Humans and the snakes seem to be attracted to each other. The snakes are friendly, and people want to touch them, and they want to see them and be with them. The main characteristic is that these snakes have 4 white spots on their forehead and form the sign of a cross on their foreheads. The other surprising fact is that they all appear at the same time of year. They appear and disappear at the same time of year from the same location. The pious people of the island have called these snakes the snakes of the Virgin, and I think it's an appropriate description of the snakes. These snakes are seen by the people and appear during the main feast of the Dormition of the Theotokos.
The Virgin Mary
is also called the Theotokos, which means Mother of God, and Panagia, the All-Holy One. She has a special place amongst the saints of the Orthodox Church. She's the one who gave flesh to Christ. She's able to intercede with God in a more powerful way as a mother. A lot of Orthodox people will instinctively turn to the Mother of God for her intercession. The 15th of August holds a prominent position in the Greek Orthodox religion. It's the feast day of the Dormition of the Mother of God and a national holiday. All around Greece, Orthodox Christians faithful gather in churches dedicated to the Virgin Mary. On such a day, more than 250 years ago, in the villages of Markopoulos gathered in the church to celebrate the Dormition of the Virgin, and the congregated faithful were astonished to find snakes in the church. People immediately thought of the snakes that were miraculously appeared in the convent when the pirates tried to attack. And then they noticed that the snakes were congregating around the icon of the Virgin Mary. They also noticed that on top of their foreheads, these little snakes had crosses on their heads and on their tongues. And they knew instinctively these were the snakes of the Theotokos. The priest quietened down the congregation and says, "Don't worry, we'll do the liturgy." And when he read the gospel, 2 snakes came away from the icon and crawled up onto the pulpit, and they rested right next to the open pages of the book. They didn't obstruct the Bible reading. They didn't obstruct the gospel reading. The priest was able to read the gospel, and then at the conclusion of the gospel, the snakes crawled back down and went back to the icon, the silver gilded icon. And then they noticed that these snakes then disappeared into the steeple of the church after the liturgy. And the reason why the steeple of the church is important is because that's where the convent was and where the nuns were legendarily turned into snakes by the Banaya. A few feet from the church, there's a stone fence, and there's a steeple from the old church. That's exactly where the snakes have appeared year after year. Sometimes there's a lot, and some there's a few. But they keep showing up every year. People are very fond of it. They've called them the snakes of the Virgin because they come out near this church and they have the sign of the cross on their foreheads. People pet them and carry them and find them totally harmless. It's a very important religious event. It's also a very important folkloric event. Thanks to this, our village, Macropolis, was put on the map. A lot of Orthodox people know about this. Thousands of visitors come every year. Some of them will sleep outside the church and pay their respects to the Virgin and to see this phenomenon. The Virgin is worshipped around the world in very different nicknames due to the miracles that she performs. This church is dedicated to the Virgin Mary of the Snakes. After the Vesper service on the 6th of August for the Transfiguration of Jesus, the commoners will go out and look for snakes. Often it's in the middle of the night because the church will have finished around 10 p.m. We'll search for the snakes until 2 in the morning. Everyone is wondering who will be the first to find the snake and get some sort of blessing. People who come with faith and piety and find a snake feel that this is a good fortune for them. This is a religious phenomenon. There's no fraudulence. This is not fake. After the snakes are found, they're taken and escorted into the church. The snakes are helped onto the icon, and everyone is joyous about it. All the faithful and all those who witness the miracle are excited and happy. As can be expected, the snakes enjoy the protection of the locals, and they see it as a good omen when the snakes appear. There's a cautionary tale, though, for those who try to do harm to the snakes. A sailor visited and stole one of the snakes and wanted to keep it in his ship. And out in sea, the snake died, and misfortune fell on the sailor. His ship sank, and he came back contrite and he gave a gift of a gold image of a snake for repentance. We call, this is so important for our village, and that's why we call this Panagia, the Virgin of the Snakes. Every year since they first appeared in the middle of the liturgy, the snakes appear at the steeple of the church during the week-long celebration for the Virgin Mary, and they disappear on August 16th at the conclusion of the festivities. Only 2 times have the snakes not appeared. Each time, the locals interpreted this as a bad omen. The first instance was in August 1940. 2 months later, Greece was invaded by the Italians. Although the Greek army was able to defend themselves against the Italians, they eventually were unable to succumb to defend themselves against the Germans. And that's the Nazi forces occupied Greece for the next 4 years. The second time was in August 1953. A great earthquake shook the southeast Mediterranean with the epicenter in KEFALONIA, and the village of Markopolis was hit extremely hard with a lot of destruction of buildings and death of people. It is when the snakes did not appear in 1953, we had the catastrophic earthquake subsequent. Most of the towns and villages were destroyed. Our own village, Markopolis, being a mountain village, was really suffered quite a lot. We had the biggest number of casualties and deaths. The fact that the snakes didn't appear that year was obviously seen as a bad omen. These events have reinforced the local belief that the snakes are messengers of good fortune for the island. And conversely, if their absence could bring ill messages for the land. There's been a lot of scientists who have come along to explain this phenomena. They haven't been able to offer any solution or answers, and why they appear in the church. And why do they appear only between August 6th and August 15th? For me, the presence of the snakes in the church is a miracle of the Virgin Mary, and it attracts all these thousands of people every year that come from all over the world, from US, from Australia, anywhere the Orthodox Christians live, they have heard of this miracle. These snakes, I remember them from when I was a young kid, when I used to come here with my mum, and I'd come here and we'd try and find snakes with our flashlights. We'd find the snakes and we'd play with them, just like kids would. But the snakes wouldn't harm us. I also remember when I was a bit older, before I was ordained as a priest, I would come every year with my friends, and we'd take a snake from the church and start walking away towards the hills. And the snake would turn its head towards the church and squirm and want to get back into church. And then we'd walk in the opposite direction, and then the snake would again turn its head towards the church and try to escape our grip because it wanted to be back in church. What does this mean? Some skeptics have reported that the massive appearance of snakes is due to something like breeding habits or vibration or noise attracting them to the area. Some scientists say, well, this doesn't make sense. As a rule, snakes don't congregate like we see in this situation in a church. Generally speaking, most snakes will aggregate as adults for breeding purposes, or they might aggregate in the fall, in autumn, for hibernation. And a lot of snakes would avoid contact with humans. And after viewing the footage, it just appears that this is even more unusual than normal. Here, the snakes are inside a building, and that they only appear at certain times of the year. And we know that sometimes that snakes will migrate through areas in certain times of years. This is very strange that these snakes are coming inside the church and where there's a lot of vibration and interacting with people.
So to see this kind of an aggregation,
to see this aggregation with juveniles at this time of year, summer, I'd say this is amazingly unusual. The behavior of the snakes, most juvenile snakes are hyper-aggressive. They tend to be more flighty, agitated, and because in nature, juveniles are more likely to be eaten. And so they tend to be more aggressive and flighty than adults. So to see juvenile snakes like this, just that don't appear to be aggressive and interacting with humans in a passive way is also unusual. Following the main road from Markostoli, we come to the village of Markopoulos, famous for the unique phenomena of the snakes for the Virgin Mary. The snakes make an appearance at the beginning of the festival and disappear after the festivities are over. Every year, many media representatives come to cover the story of the snakes. They report that the Orthodox Church and all the pilgrims who flock to the Church of the Virgin Mary see the appearance as another miraculous manifestation of the Virgin Mary. I've lived here all my life. I remember the snakes appearing every year around the 6th of August. Many people don't pay attention to it, but they should. They really should. This is a snake that doesn't attack anyone, even when noisy crowds and people are doing things to them that would normally annoy a snake. The snakes disappear after the feast of the Dormition of the Mother of God. How do I explain this? Let me tell you. I explain it through my faith, and I see it. And I see it as a supernatural phenomenon, a miracle. If you believe in the existence of God and the Virgin Mary, it's easy to believe in this miracle. After all, if this was just a natural phenomenon, not a miracle, why does it only happen around the feast of the Virgin Mary? We leave the island of KEFALONIA the day after the festivities of the Virgin Mary have ended. All locals and pilgrims return to their everyday routine. The pilgrims depart enriched by the experience. The locals are hoping that once again that the snakes will appear again next year, so that luck and good fortune is on the land.
For International Vision, I'm Terry Casey. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Terry Casey. I'm signing out. Bye-bye.